Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. Imagine if Germany couldn't sell cars to France without swapping out the tires at the border. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, that's basically Canada's reality right now. We've got a country that spent 150 years acting like 13 mini countries, each protecting its own turf. And honestly, that's the number one thing that's holding us back from being the global superpower we should be. Today I'm pulling back the curtain and show you where Canada stands on our quest to finally become one single economy. Here's what we are covering today. First, the absurdities, the red tape that makes absolutely no sense. Second, the strategic autonomy connection. Why this is our biggest weakness on the world stage. Third, the price. The billions we are leaving on the table. Fourth, where we are at. The progress, the politics, and what happens next. And five, the path forward. This is the big picture. If Canada wants to be truly independent in this changing world, we've got to start by being one country at home. Let's dive right in. Please allow me to paint you a picture. A truck driver hauling goods from Manitoba to Ontario might actually have to change their mat flaps or tire configurations because the safety regulations don't line up. I'm not joking. Same country, different provinces, different rules, gigantic stupidity. Or how about this one? Remember the famous Comeau case? That guy from New Brunswick drove to Quebec, bought cheap beer, and brought it home. He got fined. He took him to court for buying beer in his own country. No wonder why Americans think we don't get our shit together and are just a bunch of pushovers. And if you are a welder, a teacher, or a professional who wants to move provinces, good luck. While I agree things have improved, there are so much more to do. You are still gonna through massive hoops to get your credentials recognized. We are talking about a brain drain happening inside our borders. This isn't free trade. This is 13 different markets pretending to be one country. And you are paying for it at the grocery store, at the pump, and with your lower paycheck. Here's where things get serious. The world is getting more protectionist, more hostile and unpredictable. Trump's America, anyone? We had to learn the hard way that we can't rely on anyone to play fair. My viewers already know this from our strategic autonomy series. We talked about Canada's place in the world, our standing on our own 2 feet. Because here's a critical point that needs to be addressed. We can't be a leader abroad if we are a collection of bickering provinces at home. Think about what the Europeans figured out. The EU's 4 border freedoms, goods, services, capital and people, moving free across borders. And they are real countries with vast differences. What they did is exactly what we need to replicate. A unified Canadian market of 40 million people? That's a much easier sell to international investors like the EU rather than 10 fragmented provinces, who can be a huge headache. If you want to be taken seriously on the world stage, we need to be one serious country. Okay, let's talk about money. The International Monetary Fund says that if we fully eliminate those internal trade walls, Canada's economy could gain nearly 7% in real GDP. That's roughly $210 billion. Let me explain it to you this way. Right now, our ancient internal trade barriers cost Canada about $80 billion every year. That's like a hidden tax on every citizen. But if we can finally break those walls down, the payment is massive. Over the next decade or so, that 80 billion could grow our economy by an extra 210 billion. That would make our entire nation nearly 7% richer. Let that sink in. 710 billion. But hang on, what does that actually mean? 7%, 210 billion? Well, what that means is precisely this. That is $5,100 for every single Canadian through lower prices, better wages and more opportunities. And here's the best part. That doesn't require printing money or raising taxes. We just delete bad rules. It's like a free economic stimulus. It only requires the people in charge on both sides of our provincial borders to agree with each other. We could build 42 brand new mega hospitals and hire 5,000 new doctors and pay their salaries for 52 years. Just think about that. Really. Oh yeah. Or we just could put the money in our pockets. Either way, we're talking about an 80 billion price every single year. But right now, we are leaving that money on the table. Why? Because some provincial leaders are simply not interested. Maybe you should let them know that you should be. So, where do things stand in eliminating the barriers? Prime Minister Carney made this a massive priority during his campaign, promising to unleash free trade in Canada by Canada Day. And we are actually seeing real progress. So, good on you, PM Carney. The Free Trade and Labor Mobility in Canada Act became law. It wiped out 39 federal exemptions to the Canadian Free Trade Agreement. That means goods and workers meeting professional standards are now automatically recognized federally. We also saw 10 provinces sign a deal to allow direct-to-consumers alcohol sales. Canadians can now legally buy wine, craft beer and spirit directly from producers in other provinces. And internal trade ministers have scrapped 94 individual exemptions. That's about 30% from the CFTA. But here's the catch. The Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses found that 17% of small businesses say navigating interprovincial red tape actually feels more complicated this year than ever before. Why? Because the federal government has taken down its own walls, yes. But Ottawa still refuses to use its ultimate leverage. Ottawa does not threaten to withhold federal transfer payments to force provinces like Quebec or British Columbia to drop their local protection. So, we've got this weird halfway situation. Federal barriers are coming down, but some provinces don't give a crap. So, what's next? Carney's government needs to get tough. Use their constitutional leverage. Tell the provinces, if you want federal money, open up your markets. Because here's the vision I want you to picture. A business in Halifax can ship to Vancouver as easily as shipping across the street. A truck driver from Manitoba into Ontario without changing a single thing on their rig. A welder for Newfoundland can walk now into a job in BC with their credentials recognized in one day. That's not just good economics, that's what being a country actually means. The barriers are starting to crack. The provinces like Ontario, Manitoba and Alberta are making moves. That momentum is real, but we need to finish the job. And that made me thinking. Please let me know in the comments below if you would be supportive and participate perhaps if Europe Curious sends a petition to Ottawa, urging Ottawa to use its ultimate leverage of withholding federal transfer payments to force provinces like Quebec and BC to drop their local protections. If you would support my effort, then please let me know in the comments below. Please ask friends and family. And if we get something going, I will take care of the petition part myself. And who knows, just maybe, we can even secure the support of another Canadian YouTuber. I would say, let's give this a go. Because when we tear down those walls, Canada might just become unstoppable. Thanks for watching. Elbows up. I'm Wilfried Lemkula with Europe Curious, where we don't just repeat the daily headlines, but open the curtain so you can see for yourself what's really behind it. See you in the next one.